The three most beautiful words in the English language is, I love you. The three most deadly words in the English language is, I love you. You see, if that love is built on or grounded in truth, then it's beautiful. But if it's clothed in lies or lusts, then it's deadly. See, in this chapter, we're going to look at the difference between love and lust, because I think a lot of people are confused about the two. And then secondly, we're going to deal with sexual abuse. Now, 2 Samuel chapter 13, we're dealing with David, his family. I heard that it's been said that David's family, well, they put the funk in dysfunctional. And we will see this as this horrible thing unfolds. 2 Samuel 13, verse 1, after this, Absalom, the son of David, had a lovely sister whose name was Tamar, and Amnon, the son of David, loved her. Amnon was so distressed over his sister Tamar that he became sick, for she was a virgin. And it was improper for Amnon to do anything to her. Now, if you remember David, he had several wives, and through those wives he had several children. Some were sons, and we know there are a few daughters as well. But because of the many different women that he had and the different children, well, we see here in this case that one of his sons loved his sister from another mother. You see, Amnon would say those words, and I'm sure he probably did, I love you. And love, again, I believe is one of those words that's most misunderstood. And so I want to start off by defining what love is. And I think we all are familiar with 1 Corinthians chapter 13, where in verse 4 it says, love suffers long and is kind. Love does not envy. Love does not parade itself, is not puffed up. It does not behave rudely. It does not seek its own, is not provoked, thinks no evil, does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth, bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails. So, we have the definition of love, and I love the last part of it where it says love never fails. But love, if you notice in the definition, it has nothing to do with self. It's always outward. It's what you give. I believe in John chapter 3, verse 16, it says that God so loved the world that he gave. And so he demonstrated love by showing how love gives. But when you look at lust, especially in our society, when we say, I love you, sometimes what we're really saying is, I love me. What you can give to me, and you make me feel good, so therefore I love me. Now, when we look at Amnon, we know that this love that he has for his sister is really not love, it's really lust. You see, because love respects boundaries. Lust, on the other hand, it violates them. You see, it said here that it was improper for Amnon to do anything to her. Amnon, she's your sister. You're crossing the line. You're not supposed to go there. But because it's lust, he is willing to cross those boundaries. You know, there's other areas in our life that we have to be so careful of that we are not crossing the boundaries. And for you single brothers and sisters, the Bible says that we are not to be unequally yoked. And sometimes I see people will say, well, but, and they'll cross the boundaries and get themselves into hot water. You see, love love has boundaries, but lust throws off any restraints. And then sometimes we see people justify why it's okay to go beyond these boundaries that God has set for us. Now, keep in mind, boundaries are here for our protection. When God puts a boundary and says, I don't want you to cross this line, he's doing it to protect us. Now, if you go across that line, what's going to happen? You're going to end up hurting yourself as well as others. So we see here Amnon, he has lust, I will call it for what it is, for his sister. And it said that he was so in lust over her that he was feeling sick. Now, in verse 3, but Amnon had a friend whose name was Jonadab, the son of Shimei, David's brother. So this is his cousin, which is also his best friend. Now, Jonadab was a very crafty man. Oh, here we go, crafty. And he said to him, why are you the king's son? That means, hey, you have anything you want. You're the king's son, right? Become thinner day by day. So he's losing weight over this. Will you not tell me, Amnon said to him, I love Tamar, my brother's Absalom's sister. So Jonadab said to him, lie down on your bed and pretend to be ill. And when your father comes to see you, say to him, please let my sister Tamar come and give me food and prepare the food in my sight, that I may see it and eat it from her hand. Then Amnon lay down and pretended to be ill. And when the king came to see him, Amnon said to the king, please let Tamar, my sister, come and make a couple of cakes for me in my sight, and that I may eat from her hand. So we know that Amnon, based on this, is not in love with his sister because, listen, love is grounded in truth, not in deception. So here we see him setting this trap as his cousin and best friend, told him, set this trap. And so he's doing this. I think some of you remember that saying, friends don't let friends drive drunk. Here it is that this Jonadab claimed to be Amnon's friend and cousin, and yet he's not willing to take the keys. Instead of discouraging him, he's encouraging him to do this outrageous thing. So, is Jonadab a true friend? Absolutely not. The Bible tells us in Proverbs 27, verse 6, listen to this. Faithful are the wounds of a friend, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful. A true friend will tell you the things that are hard to hear, even if it means that you might lose that friendship. But a true friend will speak. They will speak up. They will speak the truth. If Jonadab was a true friend, he would have told Amnon the truth. That is your sister, and you should not go there. See, true love seeks after truth, even if it doesn't benefit you. And so we know Amnon is not in love with his sister. He's in lust with her because he's not walking in truth, but in deception. But we also see in verse 7 that he's not in love with his sister because love is content while lust is never satisfied. Look at verse 7. And David sent home to Tamar, saying, now go to your brother Amnon's house and prepare food for him. So Tamar went to her brother Amnon's house, and he was lying down. Then she took flour and kneaded it, made cakes in his sight, and baked the cakes. And she took the pan and placed them out before him, and he refused to eat. Then Amnon said, have everyone gone out from me? And they all went out from him. Then Amnon said to Tamar, bring the food into the bedroom, that I may eat from your hand. And Tamar took the cakes which she had made and brought them to Amnon, her brother, in the bedroom. Now when she had brought them to him to eat, he took hold of her and said to her, "Come lie with me, my sister." So lust, we know, is never satisfied. It wasn't good enough that she was giving him cake. No, his appetite was a lot greater than that. And whenever you are lustful, you will always want more and more and more. It's kind of like what happens on pot blessed nights. I don't know why people keep bringing cookies when you know I have a problem with sugar. But I will take one. Oh, it's so good. Oh, just one more. Before you know it, I got them in my pockets, right? It's hard to just take one. The flesh is never satisfied. I remember when I was in high school, there was a little Coney Island fair that came in town, and they had this little game. It's really a gambling game where you throw a ball and whatever color it fell on, if you put $1 and it fell on that red color, if it was red, then you will get $4 to that $1. And so I had about $20, and so I started to play the game, and I started to win. So what did I do? Well, I thought, man, let me put the winnings in one pocket and take my $20 that I came with and put it in the other pocket. So I was winning until I gained maybe $40, $50, and I was on the roll until my luck started to run out, and the money that I was winning started to go the other way. Until I started dipping into that $20 once more, and I was down to, listen, my last dollar. And that was my bus fare to go home. So what do? Do I try for the red ball or the black ball, whatever? Do I try or do I go home? Listen, I put that dollar down, and as soon as I put it down, they took it up. Now I have to find a way home at midnight. You see, lust is never satisfied. You see, there's a slippery slope when someone says, "I love you," you meet someone of the opposite sex, and now you are saying, "Hey, can we meet? Come over." And now, instead of sitting and watching a movie, now you're holding hands. And now you're embracing, and now you're kissing, and now you're making your way to the bedroom. You see, it's a slippery slope because it's not enough just to hold hands. It always leads to something else. You see, that's what lust does. And so the Bible warns us about lust. In 1 John chapter 2, verse 16, it says, "For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, is not of the Father, but of the world." You see, the key to overcoming lust is contentment. You got to be content, not going beyond what God had set in place. In Philippians chapter 4, verse 11, it says, "I have learned," this is Paul saying, "I have learned in whatever state I am to be content." We got to learn contentment. It's something that we, as a society, it seems like we're not learning this lesson. Everything that we want, we go for it. And that's why when it comes to sexual sin, when it comes to falling into financial debt, we're never satisfied, and it goes more and more. We get more and more into trouble. So contentment, I believe, is the ability to say no. You ever said no to yourself? No. You think about the little kid that's in the grocery store that wants whatever is on the shelf, and mom says no, and that kid falls down and starts to scream and yell until mommy says, okay, all right, here you go. We satisfy the lusts of the flesh, and once you do that, you're going to always continue to feed it. You see, if you strengthen your spirit will be strong. But if you strengthen your flesh, if you keep feeding your flesh will be strong. So we have to say no. You see, saying no to the flesh is like kryptonite is to Superman. No. But saying no, saying yes to the Spirit, It's like spinach to Popeye. Some of you, I'm going way back, right? Hey, we have to say no. And the more you say no to the flesh, the stronger your spirit will become. You will learn the key to contentment. So going back to Amnon, we know that he is not in love with his sister because, listen, next point here, love serves others while lust serves itself. Verse 11 says, now when she had brought them to him to eat, he took hold of her and said to her, come lie with me, my sister. But she answered him, no, my brother, do not force me, for no such thing should be done in Israel. Do not do this disgraceful thing. And where could I take my shame? And as for you, you should be like one of the fools in Israel. Now, therefore, please speak to the king, for he will not withhold me from you. However, he will not heed her voice, and being stronger than he forced her and laid with her. So we see Amnon's actions here where he's doing, well, we see that he is disgracing her. He is disregarding her. He brought shame to her by doing this. Do you understand and know that if a man sleeps with a virgin, that she now becomes undesirable to another man to marry? And so now she will be unable to find or easily find a man to get married to. You see, virginity was something that was valued in those days. Today, we just throw it out. First, highest bidder, right? The first person that comes along, we just go along with it. Our society is pushing that thing, and instead of saying, you know what, preserve yourself. It is a valuable gift that God has given you. So we see that he is doing these wicked deeds to her, refusing, and even if the king was to give her in marriage, he is not willing to wait. And that's something we see in our society. Again, you know, if you love someone, you're going to be willing to wait. And what did he do? He forced himself upon her. I've heard those words, if you really love me, you will. If you really love me. You'll do what? You will lie with me. You will sin against God for me. You see, if someone really loves you, they will be willing to wait for marriage. They will not disrespect you, and they will honor you. See, a person who is burning with lust will show no respect, and they will not be willing to wait. So Amnon, we know that he clearly did not love Tamar. And another reason we see here is in verse 15, where it says that Amnon hated her exceedingly, so that the hatred with which he hated her was greater than the love with which he had loved her. And Amnon said to her, arise and be gone. So we see that he clearly didn't love her, because love never fails, as we read. It never fails, while lust has its limits. Do you remember, I'm going back again, that old song, I will do anything for love. I will do anything for love, but I won't do that. See, that is not love. Love never fails. Love continues, even in the hard times. Even when there's nothing to be gained, love will continue. So Amnon's love quickly turned to hatred because he couldn't get anything more. He had already crossed the line. You see, love is not limited to a bedroom. Love is not limited to emotions and feelings. Love is not limited to getting. Love does not run out when the benefits run out. 1 Corinthians 13:7 says, love bears all things and believes all things and hopes all things, and love endures all things. It never fails. Verse 16, so she said to him, no, indeed, This evil of sending me away is worse than the other that you did to me." But he would not listen to her. Then he called his servants who attended him and said, "Here, put this woman out, away from me, and bolt the door behind her." Now she had on a robe of many colors, and the king's virgin daughters wore such apparel. And this servant put her out and bolted the door behind her. So this coat of many colors that the king's daughters paraded and said, "I'm pure. I'm a virgin. Now, can she wear it?" You see, Amnon did not love her because love gives while lust takes. What did Amnon take from his sister? Listen, he took her virginity. He took her chances of getting married. He took her dignity. He took her identity and self-worth. He took her security and peace. He took her ability to trust. See, when someone is violated in this way, it's hard to trust people. You know, I know this have probably nothing to do with it, but I remember being attacked by, I was attacked by a husky dog. And to survive, well, it didn't bite me, but as it was coming at me, I had to jump on top of a car, and I was so terrified. And now, I grew up with dogs, and I was never afraid of dogs, but whenever I see a husky, I will start to become afraid. And that's something that we don't realize and recognize, that when someone has been violated, this is something that they live out every day with the fear. So we know that this man did not love her because all he did was take. He didn't give her anything. Not only did he take, but we know that he didn't love her because love builds up while lust destroys. In verse 19, then Tamar put ashes on her head and tore her robe of many colors that was on her, and laid her hand on her head, and went away crying bitterly. And Absalom, her brother, said to her, "Has Amnon your brother been with you? But now, hold your peace, my sister. He is your brother. Do not take this thing to heart." So Tamar remained desolate in her brother's Absalom's house. I almost want to cry just reading this. Here it is that she is devastated, desolate. She is destroyed. He has destroyed her. And she is going now to her brother for comfort and for guidance. And he is saying to her, "Shh, let's not do this. Let's hold your peace." You know, sexual abuse is like being robbed. Just this past week, I was speaking to someone, a sister that attends our church, and she said she had recently moved into her house, and a few days after, someone robbed her house. And she shared how she feels violated, she feels fear, she feels like going into her house is not a safe place. And it's like reliving that whole situation over and over. And so it is with sexual abuse. It's like being robbed. It's robbery of the soul. And that house, your body becomes the crime scene that you revisit every day. You see, sexual abuse, I want to give some statistics on this. 80% of sexual assaults go unreported to police. 80%. Half of survivors never tell anyone, not even friends. Among college women, 1/3 discloses to 0 people. So 1/3 never tell anyone. Child sex abuse, up to 80% are unreported, often by family. Often by family. So 86% of child abuse happens in the home. Women, it says 5 in 6 women who are raped stay silent. 5 in 6. So it's one of those things that is silent and people don't talk about it. So you don't know that sometimes the person that's sitting next to you, that they're dealing with this, and they're internalizing it. And what happens? What are the results? Well, that person can become angry, can fall into depression like we see with Tamar. Some people turn to drugs and alcohol. Some people they find it hard to trust others. They blame themselves and they feel dirty. They blame themselves. And I even hear that sometimes people blame them and say, well, you shouldn't have dressed like that. Or you shouldn't have gone there. And they have nightmares. They have panic attacks. Even when people give them a hug, they feel uncomfortable. Some of them fall into sexual confusion and gender dysphoria. There's been a survey that recently was done that showed before COVID that 3% of college students identified themselves as LGBTQ plus whatever it is. During COVID, it shot up to 7%. Now, the survey that was recently done showed that it dropped back down to about 3%. The question is, why did it shoot up so high, so quickly? I believe, they were given different reasons why they believe, but I believe is because during COVID, during that lockdown, these victims, they were locked up and forced to stay with their abusers. And so this is why I believe so much of what we've seen in our world, with all of this gender confusion, why is this happening? Growing up, I didn't see any of those things. But why is the spike today? Because of this lust. We turn on our computers and there it is on our screens, feeding the lust, pornography. We drive and we see on our billboards women dressed a certain way. And so it feeds the lust. And so since the lust is being fed, some men they're desiring, and they will go and they will be forced themselves to get and feed this lust. Now, we know that those who have been abused are victims of this lust, of this sexual abuse, but I want to point out, based on this study, that there are other victims as well. Look at verse 21. But when King David heard of all these things, he was very angry, and Absalom spoke to his brother Amnon, neither good nor bad, for Absalom hated Amnon because he had forced his sister Tamar. You see, this is the family secrets. David is angry. Absalom is angry. He's silent. All of them are silent. No one is talking about it. Can I submit to you, these are also victims of sexual abuse. David is the king. What is the king who have authority supposed to do to those who do such a crime? If you go to the book of Leviticus, the laws, well, it's to be dealt with seriously, in some cases, even death. Will David put his son to death? Absalom, his brother, what is he to do? Should he deal with him? Should he report him? What is he to do? You see, this is the case, I believe, in so many cases where people are abused in their own family, and will you turn in your family member? It's a very difficult thing. You see, it's easy for us to turn in someone else that's not a family, but when it's your own family, then what do? Oftentimes it's silent. Now look at verse 23. And it came to pass, after 2 full years, that Absalom had sheep shears in Baal-hazor, which is near Ephraim. So Absalom invited all the king's sons. Then Absalom came to the king and said, kindly note, your servant has sheep shears. Please let the king and his servants go with your servants. But the king said to Absalom, no, my son, let us not all go now, lest we be a burden to you. Then he urged him, but he would not go, and he blessed him. Then Absalom said, if not, please let my brother Amnon go with us. And the king said to him, why should he go with you? But Absalom urged him, and he let Amnon and all the king's sons go with him. So this is now 2 years later. 2 years. Hey, this is in the past. This is done. No one is thinking about it anymore. But listen, Amnon, he's cooking a meal for his family. Listen, I believe he was cooking something else. He's cooking, he's plotting. You see, when it comes to secular psychology, when abuse happens like this, you will hear them use this word, will help you cope. Cope. You know what coping means? It means that we're going to help you live with this abuse. We'll help you live with the trauma. We'll help you live and find ways to get around it. And what they will not tell you, that the thing that needs to happen is that you need to, I'm not telling you. Well, I will tell you, but I will hold it to the end. You see, I'm bringing this up and show the seriousness of this because here it is, 2 years later, he's still boiling inside. You see, Absalom have a root of bitterness. And when you have a root of bitterness, it's going to produce a fruit of destruction. Yes. Look at verse 28. Now Absalom had commanded his servants, saying, watch now, when Amnon's heart is merry with wine, and when I say to you, strike Amnon, then kill him. Do not be afraid, I have not commanded you. Have I not commanded you? Be courageous and valiant. So the servants of Absalom did to Amnon as Absalom had commanded. Then all the king's sons arose, and each one got his mule and fled. So we see here this root of bitterness, it led to the fruit of wickedness. He was plotting. He brought all of his brothers, but he wanted this one. And he commanded his servants to kill him. Verse 30, and it came to pass, while they were on the way, that news came to David, saying, Absalom has killed all the king's sons, and not one of them is left. So the king arose and tore his garment and lay on the ground, and all his servants stood by with their clothes torn. Then Jonadab, the son of Shimeah, said to David's brother, answered and said, let not my lord suppose they have killed all the young men, the king's sons, for only Amnon is dead. For by the command of Absalom, this has been determined from the day that he forced his sister Tamar. From the day he was plotting for 2 years. Now therefore, let not my lord the king take the thing to his heart, to think that all the king's sons are dead, for only Amnon is dead. Wow, this is calls for a celebration. Only Amnon is dead. Listen, when it comes to parenting, it doesn't matter what your son, your daughter have done. It breaks your heart whether it's they fall into sin or they fall to death. It hurts. So Amnon, we saw, was plotting for 2 years, and if people think that ignoring the problem will make it go away, it just makes it get worse. So the king, we see here, returns home in verse 33. Now therefore let not my lord the king take the things to his heart, so think that all of his sons were dead, for only Amnon is dead. Then Absalom fled, and the young man who was keeping watch lifted his eyes and looked, and there many people were coming from the road on the hillside behind him. And Jonadab said to the king, look, the king's sons are coming. as your servant said, so it is. So it was, as soon as he had finished speaking, that the king's sons indeed came, and they lifted up their voices and wept. Also the king and all his servants wept very bitterly. So David partially is relieved that his sons, they didn't all die, but they all wept. They were happy to see each other. But I want you to see verse 37. But Absalom fled and went to Talmai, and the son of Ammihud, king of Geshur, and David mourned for his son every day. So Absalom fled and went to Geshur, and was there 3 years. And David longed to go to Absalom, for he had been comforted concerning Amnon because he was dead. So here it is. Absalom fled. He separated from his dad. David now is longing. He wants to see his son. Even though his son had committed murder, he still longed to see his son. Let me remind you, Absalom was a victim just as Tamar was a victim. Something that we don't think about. He's living with this guilt. Maybe I should have done something. Maybe I should have been there to protect my sister, and I was not. What should I have done? What could I have done? He was living with this guilt as well, and it led him to do this egregious thing where he killed his own brother. So here we see that David lost Amnon. He lost Tamar because she's probably in depression, and now he has lost Absalom. It's a tragic all over. So where do we go from here? Where did David go from here? If you are a victim of sexual sin, like sexual abuse, where do you go from here? Listen, there's no easy answer, but I believe it starts with prayer. We need to go to the Lord, and I want to underline this because there's a lot of times when people are abused, they blame God and they go away from Him. The Bible says that Jesus said, "Come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest." He gives that invitation, come to me. He's not the one that caused the abuse, but He's there to help you heal. The second thing I will say is that don't blame yourself. Don't blame yourself. And I know people feel like it's probably my fault. Maybe I did something wrong. And oftentimes the abuser will tell them things that if you tell someone, I will tell them this. And they feel guilty and they blame themselves. A third thing I will say is that they need to renew their identity in the Word. You see, when you've been abused, you start to think less of yourself. But who does God say that you are? You know who you are? You are loved. You are precious to the Lord. You are His son. You are His daughter. You are Christ's. He loves you. He loves you. And you need to know that. And when you find yourself in the Word, you will find how much He loves you. And we see how much He has loved us by the demonstration of His love. He died for us. But number 4, I believe we are to bring it to light. If you are living with this, don't live with this thing on your own. Bring it to light. Share it with someone. Let them know what you have gone through. Seek help. Don't go through it yourself. But here's the one that I'm going to challenge, and it's going to be the hardest one. You need to forgive the abuser. Now, this is very challenging because even not just me saying that, I know if you have ever been abused, that thing, it rises up inside of you. But why is it important to forgive? Because if you don't forgive, you see what happened to Absalom. That bitterness is going to lead to a whole lot of other things. Now, I want to share with you 5 things. I have shared this in a previous study. 5 things you need to know about forgiveness, and I think it's important for you to understand this. When you forgive someone, well, when it comes to the Bible, the Word of God says forgiveness is not optional. We have to forgive. The Bible tells us that as God forgave us, we are also out to forgive our brother. Secondly, forgiveness does not mean you are wrong. Sometimes we feel like if I say that I forgive that person, that means that I was wrong. No, it doesn't mean you're wrong. Number 3, forgiveness does not mean reconciliation. Because you forgive someone, it doesn't mean that you're going to now be buddy-buddy with them. It doesn't mean that. You see, in order for reconciliation to happen, that person has to ask for forgiveness. They have to repent. They have to have brokenness over what they have done, even to just begin that reconciliation process. But I want to underline, it doesn't mean reconciliation. Number 4, forgiveness does not mean that they will get away with it. God sees. He is watching. And sometimes it might be a while, but God will deal with that person because every single person will have to stand before God, the righteous judge, and He's going to deal with that sin. And number 5, this is the important one, forgiveness is I was going to say the cure for the soul, but I believe it's the only cure for the soul. The only cure for the wounded soul. Going back to what I said, you see, people will say, let's just help you cope with it. And you're coping and you're trying to ignore it, but you see, when you forgive, you're not necessarily releasing that person, but you are releasing yourself. You're bringing healing to yourself. And so it will begin that process of healing for your soul. So if you're a family member of someone who is abused, you need to also find help. You need to also share and ask for someone to help you and pray for you and encourage you in the Word, because you also have been violated if your family member have been abused. So this is a serious topic, and again, I'm probably just scratching the surface, but I think it's one that needs to be brought to the light and dealt with.